Table of Contents. A quick tour of Earth's 10 largest mammals. Origin, size, appearance, habitat. Chapters listed on screen. Intro. Well, in the hush of dawn across plains, rivers, and oceans, some creatures carry the heavier measure of life. Great bodies evolved for very particular ways of living. Today, we embark upon a countdown of the 10 largest mammals on Earth, ranked. We'll travel from African savannas to Arctic ice edges down into the blue depths. The purpose is simple. Reveal who these giants are, understand their origins, measure their size and mass, observe their appearance, glimpse the habitats that sustain them. Our format is deliberate and clear. 10 chapters, one per mammal, each covers origin, size, appearance, habitat. Chapter 1. In the broad grasslands of southern Africa, the white rhinoceros stands as one of the continent's most formidable terrestrial mammals. Native to countries such as South Africa, Namibia, Zimbabwe, Botswana, these rhinos have evolved to graze open savannas with a slow, deliberate authority. An average adult measures roughly 3.4 to 4.2 meters in body length and may weigh between 1,800 and 2,500 kilograms, a mass that presses the earth into the soil with each ponderous step. The white rhino carries bulky gray skin folded into thick plates, a textured hide that bears the tiny scars and insects of a life on the open plain. At the front of its face are the unmistakable keratin horns. One long horn, a smaller horn, curved and worn by years of rubbing and combat. Its head is broad and square, adapted for grazing, a wide, flat-lipped mouth that crops grasses close to the ground. On the savanna and in open grasslands, white rhinos congregate in loose groups called crashes, often centered around a dominant female, a territorial male. They are not fleet of foot, yet their size and armored presence deter most predators. Chapter 2. Along the rivers and lakes of sub-Saharan Africa, the hippopotamus commands the water with an unmistakable presence. Native across much of this region, hippos are adapted for a life that straddles land and water, moving with surprising agility in both realms. A typical adult male can reach weights of 1,500 to 1,800 kilograms and lengths approaching 3 to 5 meters from snout to rump, making them one of the heaviest land mammals after elephants and rhinos. The hippo's form is immediately recognizable. A barrel-shaped body, short, sturdy legs, a broad, massive jaw with enormous incisors and canines. Its skin is thick and hairless, almost mahogany to gray, and gleams with protective secretions. Small ears and eyes sit high on the skull, perfectly positioned for scanning the river. By day, hippos spend long hours submerged to keep cool and protect their sensitive skin. As dusk falls, they emerge in great columns to graze the floodplain grass, moving with a lumbering determination that belies surprising bursts of speed on land. Their social units, pods, are centered around dominant bulls who defend stretches of river and the females within them. Chapter 3. Across the vast sweep of sub-Saharan Africa, the African bush elephant roams as the landscape's largest terrestrial engineer. Found in savanna and forest regions from West Africa to the southern tip of the continent, mature bulls often stand between 3 to 4 meters at the shoulder and weigh anywhere from 4,000 to over 6,000 kilograms. Females are somewhat smaller, but no less significant. Fan-like ears that radiate heat, long curved tusks of ivory used for digging and stripping bark, a versatile trunk, scent, touch, and dexterity, thick, heavily wrinkled skin, a gray canvas carrying dust and mud as sunscreen and insect repellent. They inhabit savannas, woodlands, and forests, following seasonal pulses of water and vegetation. Matriarchal family groups, led by the oldest female, no trees, no springs, and no migration routes, guiding relatives across generations. Chapter 4. The southern elephant seal is a creature of extremes, breeding en masse on sub-Antarctic islands foraging across the cold southern oceans. Large males are among the heaviest seal species, reaching lengths up to 5 meters and weights exceeding 3,000 kilograms during the breeding season. Their name derives from the great proboscis that males develop, a resonant nasal structure used for trumpet-like vocalizations. Males are blubbery and formidable, their bulk a testament to months at sea feeding and the reserves required for the agonies of breeding season competition. Their bodies are adapted to a life of deep diving and long fasting. A thick layer of blubber conserves heat and energy while insulating against the Antarctic chill. Females are significantly smaller, but together they create a spectacle on crowded breeding beaches. On shore, the bull's proboscis becomes an emblem of dominance. It amplifies calls that echo across the sand. Chapter 5. The humpback whale is a cosmopolitan wanderer of the world's oceans, a species whose migrations span entire hemispheres, as it follows the rhythms of feeding and breeding. Adults typically measure between 12 and 16 meters in length, and can weigh upwards of 25 to 40 tons, making them among the larger baleen whales. Their long pectoral fins, remarkably elongated in proportion to the body, lend them an unmistakable grace in the water. The humpback's head is knobbly with tubercles. Each tubercle houses a single hair follicle thought to serve a sensory function. Its huge flukes bear unique patterns used by scientists to identify individuals. These whales possess ventral grooves that expand when lunge feeding, and baleen plates that strain vast quantities of krill and small fish from the sea. Their flukes and fins produce a choreography of arcs and breaches that delight observers and researchers alike. Humpbacks travel between high-latitude feeding grounds and low-latitude breeding lagoons. In polar waters, they feed by cooperative bubble netting or solitary lunging. Their songs, long, haunting sequences of sound, propagate across the ocean and are primarily produced by males during the breeding season. Chapter 6. Along the continental shelves of the Northwest Atlantic swims the North Atlantic right whale, a species long associated with the coastal waters now heavily used by humans. Adults reach lengths of around 13 to 18 meters and can weigh 40 to 70 tons, a rotund form perfectly adapted to skim feeding on zooplankton. Their slow surfacing behavior and relatively small dorsal profile once made them the right whale for whalers, a tragic misnomer. A defining feature of right whales is the roughened patches of skin on the face known as callosities, often colonized by whale lice and barnacles, which create unique patterns used to identify individuals. Their bodies are robust and rounded, with broad backs and no dorsal fin, while their mouths house long baleen racks used to filter dense patches of copepods and krill during feeding. They are not fast swimmers. Rather, they move with deliberate, energy-efficient motions. Right whales are most often found on the continental shelf, in relatively near-shore waters where seasonal aggregations of prey occur. Mothers and calves use sheltered coastal habitats for calving, and these shallow waters, while protective in one sense, place them in conflict with shipping lanes and fishing gear. Calves are born with a remarkable size and depend upon the mother's high-fat milk to grow rapidly. Their behavior includes slow surface feeding and movements that make them vulnerable to collisions and entanglements. Chapter 7. In the icy expanse of the Arctic lives the bowhead whale, a species built to endure polar winters and to exploit the productivity of ice-edge waters. Bowheads are among the largest of baleen whales, reaching lengths up to 20 meters and weights that can exceed 75 tons. Masses supported by extraordinary layers of blubber muscle. Their most striking anatomical trait is a massive bow-shaped skull, a reinforced structure that allows them to break through sea ice to breathe. The bowhead's head comprises a full 1/4 of its body length, accommodating a mouth filled with long baleen used to filter zooplankton in frigid seas. Arctic origins shape an immense survivor, perfectly tuned to ice and bloom. Country of origin, the circumpolar Arctic. Habitat, pack ice margins and productive shelves. Appearance, black, rotund, no dorsal fin. Size and blubber proclaim the cold. Across the world's deep oceans, especially along continental slopes, the sperm whale reigns as the deepest diving mammal. Country of origin, global oceans from equator to subpolar seas. Females and young prefer lower latitudes, males roam poleward. Size, adult males average 16 to 20 meters and can exceed 50 tons, females smaller, around 11 to 12 meters. Appearance, a vast, block-shaped head comprising up to a third of body length, with an offset blowhole and wrinkled gray skin. Lower jaw bears conical teeth. The massive spermaceti organ fills the head, aiding acoustics and buoyancy control. Habitat, steep drop-offs and abyssal plains where squid are abundant. They dive beyond 1,000 meters for an hour or more, navigating darkness with powerful clicks and codas. Behavior. Matrilineal clans care for calves cooperatively. Bulls live more solitary lives and visit for breeding. At the surface, they rest in logs, breathe slowly, then vanish on a quiet fluke lift. Origin, size, appearance, habitat. Here, depth is destiny for a mammal forged by pressure and sound. Second only to the blue whale in length, the fin whale surges through temperate and polar oceans worldwide. Country of origin, global, North Atlantic, North Pacific, and Southern Ocean populations migrate along rich currents. Size, commonly 18 to 23 meters, mass 40 to 80 tons. Appearance, sleek, streamlined, distinctive asymmetrical jaw, right lower jaw pale, left darker. A tall, falcate dorsal fin marks a swift profile, fine baleen combs, dense krill, and small fish. Habitat, upwelling fronts, shelf breaks, polar blooms, where prey concentrates. Behavior, high-speed pursuits earn the nickname Greyhound of the Sea, often seen in pairs or small groups on long foraging transits. Recovered from whaling in some regions, yet ship strikes and noise remain significant threats for this immense sprinter. At number 1 stands the blue whale, the largest animal ever known. Country of origin, global oceans, Antarctic to subarctic, following blooms of krill across basins. Size, up to 30 meters in length and more than 150 tons, some exceeding 180. Appearance, mottled blue-gray, slender for its scale, with a faint chevron pattern near the blowholes, and an immense straight blow. A tiny dorsal fin set far aft crowns a hull-like back that seems to go on forever. Ventral grooves open like bellows as vast mouthfuls of krill are taken in a single lunge. Habitat, high-latitude feeding grounds rich with krill. Migrations carry them to lower latitudes as seasons turn. Behavior, unhurried, immense, yet capable of surprising speed when roused. Their infrasonic calls travel across ocean basins, linking distant giants through sound. Size, the mind struggles. Appearance, a living continent. Origin and habitat, the oceans themselves. Observe how a single motion turns megatons into grace. Here, all measures of magnitude meet their match. Origin, size, appearance, habitat. Each superlative bows to a simple truth. This is the apex of animal immensity. From savannas to ice and open oceans, our countdown has revealed the top 10 largest mammals on Earth. Stay with me to the end. For the largest of them, the creature at number 1 will exceed every measure of size you have imagined.